Anna, you didn't start with painting as one life revelation or something that you were passionate about, right?
No, no, not at all. It was nowhere on the horizon for me, nowhere on my mind. I I followed the very traditional route of education and getting into the corporate sector and all of that. Spent about 6, 8, 9 years in that. And it's only after the kids were born that holding on to a regular 9 to 6 job while handling the baby front was getting too difficult or untenable for me that I quit my work. And after about a year, I started thinking, what next? Because I was always clear that I would have to. So even if I were to get back into a job scenario because a year wasn't too much of a break, I would have to
Right.
again quit when the second was born, and that whole thing would start again. So I realized I needed something a little more stable, a little more permanent that I can, which is flexible for me, which I can choose to pick up and drop depending on the priorities facing me at that point of time. So yeah, so that's
That's
how I
how it
started
came about.
thinking about. Yeah, that's how I started thinking about painting.
Okay.
It was not.
Okay.
It was nothing like one little thing light in my mind which was just waiting to burn bright. There was nothing of that sort. Yeah.
So on that note, let's start. Anna didn't start out with a passion for painting or as a deep rooted dream, which is what she just said. So she went through advertising, human resources, and such, and took up painting only around 2011. It was a very practical decision of choosing painting over other forms of art, or what was feasible and an easier fit with the resources that she had at that time. So she held her first exhibition in 2015, and she believes that as an artist, talent is important, but consistency and doing the work is just as important, and understanding what it is about. So, turning your hobby into a profession is not something that you do lightly, and there is a certain amount of work that needs to get done. So, that's what we're going to be exploring in today's episode. This is not about painting simply as your life's achievement, which is part of it, but it's also about how someone who's very practical, grounded, and down to earth still finds pleasure and satisfaction in painting. My name is Venugopal. I head Ideascape, a company which is into branding, creative, and design. And every week, I explore career journeys with people from very different professions. And today, I have the pleasure of having Anna on the show. So, Anna, welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Okay. So, what were the you just mentioned that it was a very practical decision to sort of get into it and look at it. But what were some of the other things that you looked at before you settled on painting?
In terms of art, I immediately discarded. I mean, I didn't even voice it. I just discarded singing and musical instruments and all right off the bat because it would mean. I mean, it's. Why would you learn how to sing if you don't sing it in public, right? I mean, you do want some
Right,
source of income out of it, and the only source of income from singing and playing an instrument is you perform in public, which I didn't want to do.
right,
So that
right.
was totally rejected right from the beginning. Among painting and sculpting and woodwork and all of those things, it was largely an infrastructure issue. I mean, I live in Bombay. I live in a small house, which I think is palatial given Bombay standard. But even then, I cannot devote an entire room as a studio. And sculpting and woodwork and all needs that kind of space. Whereas painting is something I can just do, and canvases can be rolled up or stored and things like that. So, like I was saying, woodwork and sculpting and all would have needed an entire infrastructure in terms of studio and mud and storage and things like that, in a far greater scale than painting. Watercolors typically are on water, so you would just stack them together. Canvases, similarly, you roll them up or whatever. So they do need space. I mean, currently, my family thinks that I have taken over 70% of the house space, but it's still better than, say, sculpting or woodwork or other things which are pieces, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the reason I took up painting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so was this, in hindsight, it looks very logical, but was that exactly the process, or did you actually go into painting and then explore what is it that you needed to do in the first place? Was there some kind of direction that you followed?
No,
Okay.
I once I decided that it's going to be painting, I went on Google. I looked for an art teacher. I called her up.
Okay.
She said, yes, I take classes. So I went to her for a year.
Okay.
And for a year, so we would choose what we. So she was a very good teacher, but her process of teaching was, you want to paint and you want a canvas at the end of it, we will get a canvas, we'll choose something and we'll paint it and you'll have it at the end of the day, right? So
Okay.
but that was not, it wasn't a foundational thing, right? I mean, if I want to learn painting, I should start right from sketching and understanding the basics of
Right.
it. But this is, I mean, what that lady does is typically what people are also looking for, right? For them, painting is a very glamorous thing. They want to create pieces that they can hang on the wall and tell people that this is
Right.
what I did.
I did it.
However, there's a
Yeah.
lot of it which is going behind it if you
Yeah.
truly want to learn how to paint. So anyway, I did that with her for about a year and a half. And
And
then
what was
once
the
I started,
starting point? Was it drawing, or did you start into colors, painting straight away? What happened?
straight away paintings, canvas, oils, straight away paintings. Yeah.
Okay.
So we had a couple of paintings that way, quite a few of them, in fact. And I hung them up
Okay.
on the wall and was feeling very happy about it. And then
Okay.
after I started painting is when I realized that I have, in my building that I stay in, there are a lot of artists like me who are learning. And so
Okay.
I happened to be chatting with a friend of mine who I had befriended at that time. And she was also learning
Okay.
painting and she had this fabulous teacher. And so I started learning from him. And that is where the journey actually started. Because
Okay.
when I approached him to take me on as a student, he said, if you want me to teach you, then you need to
Hmm.
forget about canvas for the next 1 year. I will only give you a
Okay.
pencil and paper.
Okay. Okay.
And if you are
And what
agreeable to
were
that,
the no, what are
and
the
if you
early
are
explorations like? I wanted to understand, okay, it is on paper, and what came of that? What did you kind of learn from that?
from the first teacher,
Yeah, the paint, the pen and paper, the drawing with pencil.
so basically, the fundamental of every painting is your drawing, right?
Yeah.
If you, according to me, unless you're an abstract artist where drawing is a very fluid concept, if you are
Uh,
if you are an artist and if you are doing a landscape and an object, a figurative, a portrait, drawing is important. So your
right.
basic core of your art is drawing. You need to be able to capture an image the way it is. So there are technicalities, there are specificities that you need to follow. And that is what drawing taught me. So for the first 3, 4 classes, he just made me draw lines. He just made me draw lines with my right hand, with my left hand, top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right, right to left. And he says you have to get them as straight as possible. So those kind
Okay.
of basic things he made me do. And he was
Okay.
like, there is no color. Your life is only about pencil and paper. Forget about color. So that's how we
Okay.
started. Yeah.
Okay. You have explored bulls at length because that became a theme in your painting. So this was one of the early ones, very early.
Yeah, one of the earliest.
So can
This is
you
probably my
tell me how
second
this started?
canvas.
Okay.
See, although my skill at this point was very, very limited, my idea of what I wanted on canvas was very, very ambitious. And this whole picture that I saw, and this is, I took a picture from Google and I recreated it on canvas. It was so dramatic. There was so much power in this picture. I told my sir that I want to recreate this. So then he said, okay, if you want to do it, you first show me a good drawing of it.
Okay.
So then, and it's not as if I compromised on space. This is a fairly large canvas. It's almost 3 by 4 feet. It is 3 by 4 feet. So then I spent almost a week on the drawing itself, correcting it and rubbing it off and correcting it again. And then, of course, I had a couple of, yeah, this was probably my third canvas in my career with
Okay.
this, not the other one, but not with the earlier teacher, with this. So I had a basic idea of what to do, but if you compare it, this painting with what I do now, it's very, very raw. Right? In terms, if you see the way I have done that human, that person who's driving the bulls, the colors are extremely, it's a very immature work, so to speak. Right? I don't see even the water, it could have been done with a lot more finesse. But that is the journey. And it was a huge challenge because for me, if bull is a challenge, doing a figurative human figure is much, much ahead of where I was at that point of time. And if especially a face. I mean, if to me, even
Okay.
today, a portrait is probably the toughest thing to do,
Okay.
more than the
Okay.
girls. Yeah. So, and
And
in this painting, I had all three.
okay. And why is
Yeah.
there a theme? Why do you need to stick to a theme when you start painting? Or do you believe that that is essential?
I think it binds your work. Now, if,
Okay.
for example, I've thought about it a lot. Okay, I have asked this of my art teacher also, and he's given me an answer saying that you need to be. The more commercial answer probably is that you need to be recognized by your work. So it could be a style or it could be a subject. That could be one big thing, right? Because I see that now that I have been exhibiting for over 10 years, and all my exhibitions have only bulls. Now, people recognize my work. People come to the show and say, yes, I remember this, or I have a piece of, I know
Yeah.
the style, that I remember it. So that kind of traction does build in people's minds. And if you have followed it over the years, it will gain you some capital that way. But I think more than that, if for me personally, as a as a chart of progress, it is important that you stick to one theme. For example,
Hmm.
if I weren't following the rule, if I did a landscape here, a cityscape there, a portrait here, a figurative there, it is all over the place. How do you gauge your progress? Right?
Okay.
But and you're not doing enough on one. It's almost like being a jack of all trades and master of none. Whereas if I look at a
Okay.
bull, um, from this work that you just showed to the work I've done today,
This is
you will
an
see
intermediate. Would you say
this
that
was
this is a little
2000,
later?
this is 2015. No, sorry, this is 3 years back, 2022. So yeah, if you
Okay.
compare this with that, you will see a little higher level of maturity, a little more
Yeah.
fearlessness, so to speak. I'm not so scared here.
Right.
There, I was
Okay.
petrified of what I was doing, whether it was coming out right or not. Right here,
Right.
I'm a lot more confident. My strokes are confident. My tonal values are smoother. You can see all that.
Okay.
So,
So
so
this, Anna, because this is the most recent one, I think, from what you showed.
yeah, this is this year.
Yeah.
So
Right.
again, as you get more comfortable with your subject and with your style, you are more comfortable taking risks.
Okay.
right? So here, although the treatment of my bull is the same, my background I've gone crazy with these patches, which I would never have done. I would have liked to mix the color on the canvas so that there is a smoothness to it. But here, I'm a little more brave. I'm braver than 2022. So here I put these patches. Yeah. So
Okay.
it
So that's
that's
these. Okay. Okay,
yeah,
because this is one of the things which, when you look at change over time and you can begin to define it when you see it and you're talking about it.
yeah,
It's also a major problem for uh, advertising when people are trying to express creative and say why they chose a certain color or why they went with a certain palette. And
yeah,
here, I think you pointed out very clearly what is the difference between the first one and how the colors are a lot sharper, and
yeah,
how you have moved beyond sharp colors to actually saying that I don't need them to blend into the background. I've actually given patches which were there.
yeah, yeah.
So does this come from this whole thing of being, and typically how long does it take to paint something like this?
See, I can finish the size that you just showed, which is about 2.5 feet by 3 feet. I doesn't take me more than 6 to 7 hours.
Okay, okay, that's
Yeah,
fast.
yeah.
Yeah.
Although to, we would like to make ourselves look good and say, "Oh, it took a month or 2 months," things like that. But at least in my style, I mean, it's also a technical issue where a lot of artists wait for the first layer to dry and therefore do the next one. And oils typically take about a week, 10 days to dry. So I don't have that issue. Mine is just uh, wet on wet, and I keep applying, and I'm done. Um, so it takes me about 6 to 7 hours. That's about it. Yeah. But
Okay.
uh, I would say that when people ask me this question, no, that how long does it take to paint a canvas like this, I normally say 15 years because that's how long it's taken me to reach this stage. Yeah,
That's such a, it's really the answer because it's never the physical effort alone.
yeah,
The physical effort sort of gets faster, but
yeah,
how you arrive at that and how it sort of comes into that is a very different experience. Like, I know because I'm applying it to another completely different thing, which is writing, which is again a solo kind of. And you can see that over 20 years, 25 years, the way you write, how it changes and what are the things that
yeah,
happen.
absolutely, absolutely,
You're only using words there, here you're using colors, which is a very
absolutely,
strong
absolutely.
differentiation.
Yeah, yeah,
So that is, I think, one of the ways in which you also understand that there is so much more to this than the final expression that shows up. But what is going through your mind? Is it the actual words? Because when I'm writing, I'm only focused on how the thoughts flow. When it's abstract, which is colors, is it that your mind wanders to things that are happening and you're not fully there, or are you fully in the painting while you're doing it?
no, I am. I have never been in that foggy area where I don't know what is happening around me and I'm totally immersed in my painting. I'm very, very much aware, and I I have a very objective and technical uh, mindset when I am painting. And I take a
Okay,
lot of breaks. So it's not like I'm immersed in my painting for hours and hours and I haven't washed and brushed and things like that. I I take a break every 15 minutes. I sit back and like, am I? See, the thing is also that while I'm painting or while a painting is in progress, I am never
right.
confident that it's going the right way.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
okay.
I am in a stage of panic. Like, this is not how it should be. This is not looking right. But then I have to tell myself, just follow the process. Just follow the process. You'll be fine. Don't
Right,
react right now. React later.
right,
And
right.
that stage, don't seem to be passing. I don't seem to be passing the stage where in the middle of the painting, I'm saying this is exactly how I want it to go. It's never happened so far.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah. But I
Great.
get
So I'll
now.
just do a
I've grown enough to say, follow the process, trust the process. So there I am.
great,
Yeah.
Anna. So I'm talking to Anna Malcolm, and she's a painter by choice,
Anna
not by
Kurian.
instinct. Anna Kurian. Okay. Sorry. Anna Kurian is a painter by choice and not by instinct. In the first segment, what we spoke about was what she found for herself because of the very practical issue of having children and managing what would be feasible within the house. And she broke it down like you would make a very rational decision. It's refreshing to hear someone approach painting not from some woolly headed, distant sort of ambition, but from something very practical. But on the other side, she also immersed herself in it and ensured that she understood what was involved, and she put in the work, which is why over the last 10-15 years she has this amazing body of work. And she also spoke about why she needed to focus on a theme from a commercial viewpoint because you get recognized, but also from a point of seeing how your style is evolving and also how you begin to understand a subject that much better because you focus on it that much more. So just like a job, she's approaching painting as it is in the world. And she sees that it fulfills her, but it also meets a whole lot of other criteria. So if you've liked what you're listening to, please subscribe, share, and let more people know. Because this, I think, is a very different take on painting. It is not what you will get from people who look at galleries and then say it's their life's work. So Hannah, this as you move through this whole process, how did the other subjects, what do you do? Does that come as some kind of a thing saying that, yeah, this is interesting? Or is it that you come across something interesting and it sort of lends itself to you working more deeply on that?
No, sorry. Can you repeat that question?
No, so let's say this painting,
Yeah.
this is not, yeah. How did something like this come about? You saw a
See, this was
picture, you met
commission
it.
work. This was a commission work. Okay,
Okay.
so here's the thing. Although I focus on bulls, I have a large body of work which is all the other things as well.
Okay.
I have done a lot of still lifes, I've done a lot of portraits, I've done a lot of figuratives, I've done a lot of landscapes. So my work is not restricted to bulls. Bulls is the common thread, right? But uh, just to restrict your work to bulls also is not healthy, because it's not like
Right.
because I can do a bull I can do all the others. It is not that. Portraits is a different ball game altogether, still lives are a different ball game altogether, figuratives. Yeah, so they all claim their pound of flesh. Now, I've done a lot of other things because it is all adding up. It's all part of your learning. Secondly, I can't keep doing bulls all my life. No, it'll be so boring. So every once in a while, I bring in something else and I say, okay, I want to explore. I want to do a crowded cityscape. So I did a crowded cityscape. I wanted to do a crowded cityscape in the night. So that is the
Yeah.
one that you're seeing on
And that's how
screen.
this came
So,
up. Okay.
yeah, it was
and
purely that. Yeah.
and it's amazing how cities at night seem a lot more fascinating as opposed to being bathed in just plain light. Here, the interplay. And I think you remember that film Blade Runner, which came long ago, which is, it's almost
Yeah,
as
yeah,
if you have to have rain on the streets for it to be
yeah.
interesting.
Interesting. That's nice. Yeah. So
You
yeah,
can't have.
and it's only when
Okay.
you do these kind of things that you
Huh,
realize that this was actually far simpler than you thought it would be. Because it is all the beauty of this painting is only the reflections on the road.
right.
The
Right.
rest is, I think, is very doable, and doing lights on the road is so easy. So you're demystifying a lot of things too.
Okay. Okay. What about this one? You said portraits are among
Yeah,
the difficult things to do. So is it something that in your mind was
yeah.
tough
It's
to?
still portraits are still a big. I mean, I do them, and I think I do them fairly well, but they still are the more difficult because if you look at a face, no, I mean, if you consider, say, a car versus a face, a car has some planes, very flat, some horizontal planes, some vertical planes, and that is it. Here you have
Right.
so many. You have the tip of your eye, you have the nose coming up, the lip, the jawline, the ears, everything. I mean, if you have to give a three-dimensionality, there are so many things, so many shades you have to look at. So
Yeah.
sometimes I think you just want to go blind trying to capture all the total values on the face. But yeah, portraits are a tough still.
And they look simple, but like you mentioned, the little, the way the nose, even if it's slightly out of,
Absolutely.
shape or whatever, people tend to
Absolutely.
pick that up immediately. And
And the tougher one is if you are trying to sketch somebody known. Because when we are painting portraits as a
uh,
study, we're not really chasing likeness. We just want a
right,
credible face. That it's not
right,
looking unnatural, the nose is not crooked, or the eyes are not squinted, or at least the proportion is right. We're not necessarily chasing likeness to the original image. But
right.
when people see, your friends see, the first reaction is, oh, but this doesn't look like him. But
Okay.
that's not our objective. So, so there is that bit of
Yeah, there is that
it.
bit. Did you go for the Van Gogh immersive? I think it was there.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
I
sure
did,
it
I
was there.
did,
Yeah.
I did, I
What
did
was
not
your take
agree.
on that as an artist? As somebody who understands paintings intimately because you're doing them, I want to understand how you felt.
You mean for the immersive itself or Van Gogh's art?
No, I want the immersive experience, how you thought about it, and then about his art.
I just thought it was one nice gimmick.
Okay,
I
okay.
mean, I don't know what that immersive thing did uh, for me because um, if you just look at Van Gogh's art as a painting in itself, his strokes and the way I mean, I have read his book, I think Lust for Life, uh, that he's written. I've seen that movie as well. For me, the man behind the paintings is so huge for the kind of things he went through and what he's
Yeah,
created, right? We have such an easy deal. We sit in the comfort of our air-conditioned rooms and we look at pictures and paint. Whereas he stood in the
right.
heat and the rain and painted. It
Yeah.
was. I'm sure if I were to face those kind of circumstances, I would never venture into this.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was, and his strokes are amazing. His work is so distinctive.
Yeah. What I thought was how they managed to move out of a gallery into something. It was a purely commercial kind of way to get, because you didn't have people needing to go walk into a gallery and then see his work. They took it to people and they figured out how to make it portable, which
Yeah,
at some point you can say is good or bad, but it also acquaints a whole lot of people with the art.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's a very different experience, I thought, when you have the artist's work wash over you. In most cases, you're standing at a respectable distance from a painting or at a point when you should see it. There's a certain frame within which you're viewing it, and then you look at the painting. This is like it was moving along the floor, the ceiling, and everything else, and you went ultra close into something which you would never do otherwise.
That's
You wouldn't, for example, go very close to a painting and then say, how did you? But because the faces were so strikingly close at certain points, you
yeah.
began to see things of make feel about it in ways that would not be done before. So I think that I felt was one of the most unusual aspects of the immersive, where it
That's
sort of
true.
went from
That
there.
I
Yeah,
agree. I mean, I just feel that um, when I was there, I for the painting moving towards you, no, you need the depth, you need the distance to be able to look at the painting for a bit. Here, it's not steady. It's just moving all the time, and it's moving towards you and away from you. So
Yeah,
you're not getting the time to really look.
yeah,
Although it's a
yeah,
nice feeling, right? You know, it's dark and all
yeah.
these lights, and
Right,
so it's a nice
right.
feeling. It's a nice feel, but how much you will be able to see a painting, I don't
Those are questions that I think,
know. Yeah.
yeah, it's almost like a different way of, for example, if you were to have a gallery which then didn't have just, you know, for example, I'm taking a completely different example: Carnatic music versus Western music. Carnatic music, people just sit in one place, the mic is arranged, and there is one single way of doing it. Whereas in the West, it is moved completely
Mm.
beyond a static art into something that is on stage and then shown across. So it's a
Yeah.
very different feel when you look at it. So I think one of the things that's changing is how people are viewing art and how they're looking at it, which is where I think in future it'll
Yeah.
also uh, go into. So to come back to where exactly does technique in terms of how you have improved, can you look back and then say this is what you have found you have improved with over time? Is there something that you have learned which you say that when I applied, then this is how I um, express it?
No, I didn't have any such moment. It was just constant work. There was no eureka
Okay,
moment for me, honestly.
okay, okay. So this was part of the urban sketching thing,
No, this
or
is
was it a
just
commission?
no, this is not
Okay.
commissioned either. It was just one of the things. It wasn't urban sketching. It was just at home. Somebody had clicked a picture had gone somewhere, clicked a picture. I loved it, so I thought, let me try a watercolor because I just
Yeah.
love the scale and the expanse of the picture and the close up
Yes.
of the
Yes.
bushes, and
Yes.
to see if I could
And
get it.
yeah, and what I found unusual about this is that most people tend to try and make things like this pretty, whereas you emphasize the starkness,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
the stuff in the foreground. Those
yeah,
it's almost as if they're burned down. There is no hint
yeah,
of green. This is not a
yeah.
way of painting trees, which are. It's almost as if you're looking at a landscape through a forest fire or something which is just kind of, because
Ah,
even in the background it is not a very joyful kind of, it's not as if this whole thing just stands in
mm,
out there, but again these are things that I think we started off on this, that it's hard to be articulate about art because each person is looking at it from a different perspective, or he's you find yourself like you just started by saying I like the picture as soon as I saw it.
mm.
So,
Yeah.
and in most cases, you may not stop to ask yourself why. But when you're painting, then you're saying, what should I bring out? Right? And then
Yeah.
huh, which I think is is it
So
urban or is it,
see,
yeah,
when you choose a painting, you're not choosing a painting for the. When you choose a reference to paint, you're not choosing it for the beauty of the look.
yeah,
I'm not trying to recreate a beautiful painting or recreate a beautiful picture. I There has to be something challenging about it. There has to be something which is making a statement. Right. So, say a regular
right,
landscape, there is a little river, the lush green trees, which are also nice. Not denying that. But I like the
okay,
starkness here.
right,
It creates a mood. There's a starkness. There is a depth that you need to capture. So that is the challenge.
okay, great. So normally in on this podcast, especially, even things like painting, which is not typically seen as a career, you have made. So how did you go about making your commercial decisions?
So when I started painting, I really had no such ambition of. displaying,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
But I think my sir, after a couple of years, he decided that I need to display. But then I kept putting him off. I said, we'll figure, leave it, leave it, leave it. Until one fine day, he said, I won't take any more classes until you give me a date. And so, that is how actually it happened. He almost pushed me and forced me into displaying. And that's how we had our first exhibition in October in 2015 in Bajaj Hall in Nariman Point in Bombay.
Okay.
So it was a group show. Me and another student of his, we both of us did it together. And it was a fairly
Okay.
successful show. Um, I mean, I had some sales and I felt very good about it and things like that. Yeah,
Okay.
but so that's how it all started. So once, it's always the first step which is the toughest one. So now we are
Right.
veterans of
Right.
it. Now we keep displaying at every opportunity. Yeah.
So how do you handle all these arty questions from the audience that comes in and then they ask you, or people don't really ask this question, they just like something and they buy it.
No, they asked me how long it takes and all that. So
Yeah.
I said, oh, it took me a couple of months and all. Then after that, I like this is like too boring. I would tell them it takes me 6 hours. So they are very shocked and all that, and they think, oh, is it that easy? I let them think it.
Yeah, you make
Yeah,
it look as if it's easy.
yeah,
Your the person who teaches you also seems like quite a character because I think he started off by saying only pen and paper for the first 1 year,
mm,
nothing else, and
yeah,
then he sort of pushed you into ensuring
yeah,
that this
yeah,
you
yeah,
showed this. So
yeah.
that I think is wonderful to get those kind of mentors.
Absolutely. And I have no qualms in admitting that without him, there's no way I could have reached where I have reached. So I have a superb teacher, but I'm also a very diligent student. He would, if he told me to do something, I did it.
Yes.
He said that when I come for your next class, I want to see 50 sketches of something. I would show him at least 30, if not 50. So
Okay.
I put in my work. And so now, once in a while, he tells me that so there are a couple of us, he says, when I come to teach you guys, I really need to think, prepare for a class. Whereas for the others, I don't need to do anything because I know they haven't done anything in the week that has passed by. I know they haven't done anything. We're just going to start off where we were last week. With you guys, I have to think about what to make you do. So that's a compliment for us, but it's also because
Wonderful.
he's put in that work and we have put in that work. So
Okay. Okay.
I keep telling whoever asks me that a teacher will teach you, but you won't learn unless you do things yourself. He will give you a lesson and go off, but unless you sit by yourself and do it yourself, you don't know where you are, and you don't
Right.
have the doubts to ask you, and you won't get stuck. Because when he's with you, even today, when I'm in my class with my sir and he's making me do things, at the end of that painting, I tell him that I don't know how much of this is mine and how much of this is yours. Because I'm not thinking, I'm doing just what you're telling me to do. It's only when I start a portrait by myself that I'm thinking, okay, what is the color that I should put here and what do I do about the nose? Those kind of learnings will only come when I sit by myself. So
What's his
self-study
name,
is
Anna?
important.
Yeah.
His name
Which
is Mr. Guneet Kumar.
okay. Okay.
Guneet Kumar
Marvelous.
is
So
on.
let me make
Sorry?
and no, you were telling me about him.
Yeah, he's a JJ School of Arts alumni, and
Okay.
he's a very very good artist. He displays with us, and he's very accomplished. And he teaches. I mean, that is how he makes his living because
Okay.
you know this
Yeah,
is
that's how it is.
paint,
Yeah.
painting sales is not a regular thing. So, and he
Okay.
teaches us, and he teaches in a school as well. So,
Okay. So let me
yeah.
make the um, so I'm speaking to Anna Korean and she spoke about how she has a very practical approach and how she saw her journey in improving through a series of paintings. So if you just go back over the last 20 minutes, you will actually see those paintings put one after the other, and you will see how Anna describes her own evolution in terms of how she's learned the art, how she improved at it, what are the decisions that she made. But she also puts it down to having a great mentor. And like she said, she had a teacher who really ensured that she learned, that she put in the effort. And I think that last bit, if you focus on that, where she said that the teacher can teach, but the student has to learn, which I think is a very, very profound statement. And it requires that effort. And it is evident in the kind of work that she has done, with the teacher telling her that I have to prepare for a class with you because I know that you would have done what I asked you to do. So it's not some esoteric, airy fairy thing that you think that art and most of these things are created. There are some very and let's take it from there. So let's bring Anna back, and then where do you see this going? Because you have looked at urban sketching as the next kind of phase, or do you simply do it because it's interesting to do?
I do it because it's great learning.
Okay.
Um, because to be able to paint live, there's a sea of difference between painting from a photograph, which is a 2D image, to going live outside and painting what is in
Right.
front of you. Because there, uh, the drawing is fluid. The light is changing, people are moving. It's a dynamic scene. Urban sketches is typically, as the name goes, it is talking about capturing an urban scene. Right? Cars are
Okay.
moving up and down. So you have to be able to sit in that chaos and make a painting of what you see. So as a beginner, uh, when I started urban sketching, I was completely at sea. I didn't know how to deal with that. I would start painting a cab and that would get driven off. And then I'm wondering, now what do I do? Do I start a new one or do I stick with this? Then when you're sitting outside, how do you choose to sketch? What do you choose? You have a 360-degree view. You have to be practical. You
Yeah.
cannot bring in all of it together. You cannot cross every T and dot every I. You have to simplify the scene in front of you. You have to decide, okay, the light was on this wall at 8:30 in the morning, now it's 10:30 and the light is on the other wall. What do I do? So those kind of decisions have to be taken, and it's a great learning. So when I started off in urban sketches, it took me at least 10 sessions to understand or finally feel the ground firm under my feet. Okay, now I feel I know what to do or what not to do. So, uh, not to give up in the first phase, in the first class, because you came back, because every time you start painting, you want a masterpiece, right? You have to accept the fact that you will come up with a lot of duds,
Right.
which is extremely demoralizing, but hey, it's there. So the first 10 sessions were like that. I just chucked them all in the bin. And it's only now that things have started. Now I feel a little more in control. I feel like, okay, I can handle this. So it's purely
No,
learning.
but it's lovely when see you're holding this out. I've got this picture where you're holding out what you've sketched, and it's the scene behind. And it's
Yeah,
very clearly a recreation. There is no doubt about that at all. So
yeah,
obviously this kind of skill is not easy to master. And here's the other one, which again
yes.
uh, is the truck out there, and the fact that the tree in the background and the kind of ground, and you could have been true to life, but again those patches in front are really adding a lot to that scene. And if you
Mm.
were to see this as a photograph, it would not be anywhere as interesting as what you've done with this,
See,
because
the lesson here is which I've been told over and over again by my peers and my sir. He said, "You are not recreating a scene. You are
Correct.
not. If you just want to recreate a scene, take a picture and be done with it. Here,
Correct.
you are using your style, and your the scene in front of you is just a framework.
Okay.
It's just a ballpark, something that you want. Rest has to be yours. So you
Right.
use your fundamentals, you use your style, you use your colors. You don't have to stick to those colors. So own that scene, own that painting. It has to be distinctive. You're not recreating, you're not replicating, which is what
Right.
all newcomers, I mean, I also did. I would, if in a scene, in a crowded scene, there were 20 people, I wanted those 20 people. And if there was a pole next to it and an ice cream man with things on his cart, I would, go after those details. And it's taken me years and years to sort of tell myself that those details are not important. Let it go, let it go. So it's a conditioning. Yeah. So,
I'm
so
also
in the
interested in,
scene,
yeah.
that you see, the black and white, the pen sketch of the crowd, the one
Okay.
before this.
Before this.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's only my entire drawing here is the shops. Okay, once I
Okay.
had those 4 lines put in, everything else I just winged it. I haven't gone after the people there. I've just ensured
Okay.
that the sizes of the people versus the shop is okay. And then I just
Yeah.
went and filled up random people here and there. Just filled it up.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I didn't get bogged down by their posture or what they were doing. And this is just,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a
And
learning.
like you
That's a
said,
good.
you didn't have to, your idea was never to replicate. It was always to
Yeah,
capture the spirit of that moment.
very.
So now
Absolutely.
when I look at it, I can very clearly make out that maybe there was a family like that in the foreground. Maybe there was some people, a guy with a backpack, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
And while you winged it, the point is that it must have crossed the scene at some point and registered in your mind, which you then brought in. And it still remains perfectly part of that scene because you accept it as, yes, it can be there. It's not as if you're putting in an element which is not there or which is not feasible for that place, which I think
absolutely.
is a marvelous
Yeah.
way of. I'm also interested in we'll stick with this for me to understand another aspect. Now, you're going on this sketching, you said you do it for an hour. How exactly does the process work? And do you find a difference between what people prioritize when you're looking at what other people have captured?
Yeah. So, okay, I'll come to urban sketching first. Um, Urban sketching, a lot of countries have this urban sketching chapter happening. America has it, Europe has it. Bombay is very, very active. So our chapter head is a lady called Zainab Tambawala, and she organizes it very well. We have an Instagram page called Urban Sketches Mumbai, and every say Thursday or Friday, you just have to join it. And every Thursday or Friday, there is a post which says that this Sunday or this Saturday we are meeting at such and such place. Between at reporting time is 8:30, and it's for about 3 hours. So this particular scene was the Mount Mary fair in Bandra. It's a
Okay.
annual big thing in Bandra. It's Our Lady's Feast. It's that time there's a huge fair for about a week, and the traffic is all jammed up, and you can see the number of people. So it's a great
Yeah.
subject for sketching. So 10 o'clock was the time, and we all landed up. We sketched our thing, and at 10:30 we have a bit of a throwdown. We take pictures because we have to post it on the site for the international urban sketchers to view and things like that. So anyway, that's the technicality of urban sketching. Um, Now, having said that, once you reach the place, there is no diktat as to what you should sketch, how you should sketch it, what is the medium. You have reached this place, now you can do whatever you want. The only thing is that don't take a picture and then sketch from your phone. And there's no point in having come all this way anyway.
Yeah.
The only thing is sketch live. Whatever you do, sketch live. That's about it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there is no marking, there is no payment, there is no jury, there is no grading, nothing. You just come, do your thing, and leave. That's about it.
So when you've looked at some of the pictures that other people have come with, do you find a marked difference, or do you find that people tend to notice the same things?
No, there's a marked difference. And our age group, it ranges from 18-year-olds, or sometimes even people come with the children, 10-year-olds to retired people. So some people, of course, maybe it's the stage which they are at, they will do static things. Like if there's a fountain, they will do that fountain because, they have the comfort that's not going to run away.
Okay.
And then there are very accomplished people who will do a lot more daring scenes. So it's the entire, we run the entire gamut. So from very
Okay.
simplistic line drawings to highly detailed work, it's all there. So it's quite a and such different styles. I mean, it's amazing just how limitless this whole medium is. You can just do so much. You just see so much. When 60 people lay out their work, the work is starkly different one from the other. It's
Okay.
quite a
Okay.
revolution. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is probably one of those experiences which puts painting into a public arena.
Yeah.
Otherwise, invariably, you are alone, you're
Yeah.
sitting and you're thinking, whereas here you're interacting with so many people and you're
But
seeing that come alive as you do it.
no, and the people who are passing us, they are so excited with what they're doing. They just spend, I mean, they'll be on their way to run an errand, but they'll stop and they'll watch you for 10, 15 minutes and then move on to the next one. And it has happened that some people want to buy our paintings there. They'll say, we would like what you've done. We would like to buy it. And that's also happened. So it's great fun, actually. Yeah. People offer us food and drink. If once in a while, if we go to residential areas, like we have pockets in Bombay where the old bungalows are, right? The old Portuguese type
Yeah.
bungalows. There are
Yeah.
certain pockets,
Right.
and they're great painting subjects. Those people feel so happy when we're painting their houses. They'll come and offer us tea and food and drinks and stuff like that. It's quite warm, nice. Yeah,
Yeah, I know. And there's this thing of detailing in very, very small places where I've seen somebody who's done architecture and then moved on to landscapes. And then
yeah,
she does these very, very finely detailed images, literally lines
yeah, yeah,
with little spots of color, which make a very different, it creates a
yeah.
very different feeling of how you're
Actually,
looking at it.
architects are a big part of our group. We have a lot of architects coming with this.
Okay. Okay.
So that's, I guess, it's a
Yeah,
good.
and we have to do elevations, but these are not elevations. This is just like, okay, this is what the whole thing will look like when it's
Yeah,
done. So you can see
yeah,
the adjacency of what a painter and an architect is. That
yeah,
has to follow various other structural aspects, whereas this you can just
yeah,
go ahead and do
yeah,
whatever you
yeah,
like.
yeah. That's right.
So now having spent 14, 15 years as a painter, Anna, what are your learnings? Is there simply that, okay, this is good, you put in the talent? Is there something that you have told me in a previous conversation that it's not as if you're raring to go in the morning and then get to that painting? But what do you think it has fulfilled within you?
What do I think?
Painting has fulfilled within you. What do you think you have gained from it?
See, I have I have a huge body of work now.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have this confidence that now suddenly the subject is not so not the confidence that now even if my subject changes, I will be able to do it. Purely from the painting art point of view. Um, Moving from say bull to another subject, uh, say a horse or a dog or whatever, or even faces. There is always it's not seamless, right? Just because I paint does not mean I can do anything under the sun. But there is that confidence because I think my fundamentals are fairly strong that I feel that If I were to move, it will be probably a 3 to 4 painting phenomena before I am sort of okay with a new subject
Okay.
or a medium. So I have that level of confidence in my work. But what I have failed in is my confidence as an artist myself. That, like I said, in the middle of a painting, if you ask me, is this going well? I have no idea. I think it's going to end up in the dustbin. So the mantra, follow the
Okay.
process, follow the process.
Okay.
But once you
Okay.
step away from it, you have confidence in your craft.
Ability.
So
Okay.
that has taken 15 years, but now I think slowly there.
Wonderful, Anna. I think we leave it there because thank you for being so frank and open and taking me through the entire process of work. You followed the process as far as this is concerned as well. And anyone who looks at this, I think, will get an idea of painting not being something esoteric, but something that can be very grounded.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think it's something you can pluck out of thin air and do it. Anyway, it was a
Thank
pleasure,
you for
Renu. Thank
being
you
on
so
the
much for
show.
having me.
Wonderful. Great.
Okay.
So that was Anna Kurian and her journey through painting. And next week, another guest, and we'll continue this journey into the future.